Folks, welcome to Bru Time episode, I think it's 26, and this week we've got Round the World Roxy. How you doing?
Hi. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, awesome, thank you, awesome. This has got to be weird for you, to be in the middle of such an amazing trip and now you're home again.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. I was planning when I was setting off on this trip. I didn't think anything like that was going to happen. No. I mean, nobody knew. And I was planning. I was going to do this trip as one. I wasn't going to break it into parts.
Yeah.
But actually, it completely changed the way I'm thinking about my trip now. So now I'm actually thinking about split it into further parts and to actually take my time. My around the world trip, actually, in the first place, I was planning to do it in 10 months or 1 year. So it's not a lot of time.
Yeah, it's quick.
Now it just changed completely the way I'm thinking. I just want to take my time, and once I get back to it, I would maybe spend 1 year traveling, maybe to finish the Australia, North America, or South America, and then stop again and go back to work, save up, and then maybe spend another year traveling, then go back to work. So now I actually completely changed the way I'm thinking, the way I'm going to do this trip going forward. So it's kind of bad in a way, but I suppose it's good in a way that I'm going to take my time going forward rather than rushing it and missing a lot of places that I could see otherwise.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Having that time to sort of sit back and think about what you've done, and you will have changed as well, haven't you? I'm sure you as a person, you've changed on the road. So you now is different to maybe you when you were planning it and set off. And
I don't know. I mean, I don't see it myself.
Right.
Maybe if you ask other people who are around me, like my mom or people who are around me all the time, then maybe they will be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
From my point of view, I don't see much difference. Apart from the only difference I can see, which I can really see, is that before the trip, I liked when I go for a ride, I used to like going out with people more often. Well, now I just prefer to go on my own. Yeah. So that's one difference that I can really see. But as from personality point of view, more kind of inside, I don't know. There are some experiences during the trip, things that made me realize that the way that the world is, you see all the bad things in the media. So it opened my eyes about how like places that people told me that if I go to countries like Pakistan, I'll get killed. I'm not going to come out alive.
Yep.
And that's the places where I met the nicest people. So. It's changed the way I look at certain countries or places, people, in a way. But from more from the inside, from personality point of view, I don't think it changed me a lot.
Right. Well, I tell you what. For the people who perhaps haven't heard of you or don't know what we're talking about, can you just run through who you are and what you've done and are doing?
Yeah, so I'm Roxy, or Roxana is my real name, and if you don't know me, you probably wonder where my accent is from. So I was born in Poland, and I moved to Scotland almost 10 years ago, and I ride motorbikes.
Understatement of the year. Understatement of the year.
I started riding bikes when I was 18, 7 years ago. I'm 25 now. And I started small from a little 125, then I went up to 650, then I had a Fireblade, another Fireblade, and another Fireblade. A few years ago I started touring around Europe, and I started running out of the countries to go in Europe. So I started thinking, where do I go next? And I wanted to go farther, outside Europe, and I was thinking maybe India, Himalayas, and once I started thinking about that, I thought I might as well just go all the way around. If I'm going to go that far, then there is no point turning around. So, that's kind of where the idea of riding around the world was born. And I set off to do a around the world trip, which was paused. So I rode from Europe through Asia to Australia, and that's when my trip was paused because of the pandemic. And I decided to leave my bike in Australia, and I flew back home to Scotland for a few months. I thought it would be better to just go back to work and save up so that I can then travel for longer. Once Australia reopens, which I was planning to come back to Australia in maybe March next year, but actually I just heard in the news that Australia might not reopen until late at the end of next year. So it might be a while till I get back to it.
Wow, I didn't realise they were holding on so long. God.
Yeah, until recently it was quite vague. They were talking anything between January till June, July next year, but it was just this morning that I saw in the news that now they are talking end of next year. So what I'll probably end up doing, if this is going to be the case, then I'll just do smaller trips around Europe and just try to save up as much as I can during this time. So it's I don't mind too much. Whenever it opens, it opens. I don't really care if it's going to be early next year, end of next year, or 2022 or 3 or whatever. I just figure something out. I just do smaller trips where, like, around Europe or around the UK, or just whatever happens I guess.
Cool.
Not much I can do about it.
Well, this is it. It's sort of out of everyone's hands, really, isn't it? It's frustrating, but you've just got to wait. What will be will be.
There's no point getting annoyed or frustrated about something you can't really change, so you just get on with it, I suppose. It's not ideal. Everybody wishes that it didn't happen and things were normal, but just if it's not something I can change, then I'm just not trying to not get angry or frustrated about it.
That's a good attitude. That's a good frame of mind to have for it. So you started your trip in July 2019, wasn't it?
Yes,
and
that's
then,
correct.
So from there you went across Europe and then through Asia, didn't you? Through the Middle East, you did the stands, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I went down to Turkey through Europe. I wanted to ride through Europe quite quickly because Europe from UK, it's easy enough to get anywhere in Europe. So I wanted to get through Europe quickly down to Turkey, and I had a set date for crossing China. So I had only 6 weeks to get to the border with China. And I really wanted to ride the Stan countries, Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. So I wanted to get to Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan quickly enough so I could ride around there, and also in time for the China crossing. So I rode from Turkey east through Georgia, Azerbaijan, over the Caspian Sea to Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, back to Kyrgyzstan, and then through China down to Pakistan. And then east, India, Nepal, Myanmar, Thailand, Southeast Asia, and over to Australia.
You got through Myanmar?
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't get in when I did mine. They wouldn't let you in. So I was gutted.
Was it not possible?
No. I got to. There was one border right up the very top of Thailand that you could. They were letting Westerners through, but only like I think 8 miles inside. So you could get your passport stamped and you could get your bike in, but then they wouldn't let you go any further. You had to turn around and come back. But the day I got there was a big outbreak of fighting with the rebels that they were fighting or whatever. So they shut the border and I couldn't get in. I was gutted.
Oh, no way.
Well, never mind. So, folks, if you haven't picked up on this yet, Roxanne is actually doing this trip on a 1999, yeah?
Yep.
1999 Fireblade. A Fireblade. And she's just gone through all the stands. I mean, that's pretty damn hardcore. Fair play to you.
You did it on the Gixxer 1000, right?
Yeah,
so it's
but
nothing unusual, really.
I didn't do the stands, I did a little bit of off-roading when I had to on the Gixxer, so I can appreciate how hard that is. And, you've just done massive chunks of the stands on a sports bike. That's pretty damn amazing.
It was. People ask me why did I not go on an adventure bike? It will be easier. And surely enough, I'm sure it will be easier. But it gives me it's a completely different level of satisfaction. Just imagine meeting somebody, and they are telling you you can't do this on that road on a Fireblade, and then you go and do it, and it's almost like hold my beer, watch me kind of thing. I mean, I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone, but it's just so satisfying when somebody tells you can't do this.
Absolutely.
And you go and do it.
Yep.
So it's, I did do quite a lot of off-road, that's right, but I did it on purpose almost, because just riding on tarmac was almost too easy, and I just wanted to go off to more remote places, and it was hard. I can't say that it was easy, but it was fun in a way.
Yeah.
It was more challenging, and I found it fun.
I mean, if you've not seen Roxy's vid, then I'll put a link down. If you're listening to the podcast, check out the show notes. If you're watching the video on YouTube, check out the description. There'll be links to Roxy's channel there. Have a look at where she's been on this bike, or your Instagram as well. I'll leave links to the Instagram. Just have a look at some of the places that she's been to already on this trip, and it's not even over yet. It's impressive. It really is impressive. Well done.
Thanks. Hang on. So, what route did you actually take from? You said you got to the border with Myanmar. So, which route did you take?
Well, I obviously started and finished in London, and then I went into mainland Europe, went round all the main parts of Europe as far as East Czechoslovakia, then down to Italy, crossed through into Spain, through France and through Spain, Portugal, cross into Morocco. And then I went down the west of Africa, but I got into Mauritania when there was a load of... Everyone listening to it is going to be bored already because they hear this just about every week. But I got into Mauritania when there was a big Islamic fundamentalist uprising. The Boko Haram... Al-Qaeda lot that exploded in Nigeria and kidnapped all the schoolgirls, and it was right at that time. So I got caught up in that in Mauritania. So it wasn't very nice. I got through that into Senegal and then decided to come back to the UK. I was back in the UK for about 6 months because I got robbed, basically, lots and lots and lots in West Africa. So I lost loads of money. So I came back to the UK, went back to work, got some money together, managed to pick up a sponsor and headed off again. And then that time I went through Scandinavia up to Nordkap, down to Romania, through Ukraine into Russia, across Russia, then South Korea, Japan, into Thailand, Malaysia, back to Thailand, tried to get into Myanmar, couldn't, went into Laos, went down through Laos, was trying to get to Cambodia, but ended up taking a bit of a wrong turn and ended up right up in the mountains, like sort of roads that you ended up in, middle of nowhere. So by the time I'd got through all that, I didn't have enough time to do Cambodia because I had to get the little onion boat from Malaysia across to Indonesia. So I bombed back through Thailand and Malaysia, got the little boat across to Indonesia, worked my way down through Indonesia, West Timor, East Timor, Australia, and then across to South America and up to Canada and then back home, basically. Yeah.
Wow. And how long did it take you? 2 years?
About a year and a half. 442 days was my total time on the road was 442 days. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. So that's still pretty quick. I know some people take like years and years to travel around the world.
Definitely,
and, my original plan was to do it in 1 year, which obviously didn't happen. So,
1 year's quick. 1 year's quick. Looking at your website, I've seen your sort of projected route, and you're like, wow, a year is quick to do all that. Definitely.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Like I said, I'm just going to slow right down, going forward, because I don't see a point just rushing through and missing out on so many places.
Yeah.
And,
it's sort of I don't like to have regrets in life, but it's something I look back on my trip and I think I wish I'd taken longer, in the places and taken the road less travelled. Those times when I looked at the track and thought I'd like to go up there, but this is a tarmac road here, I need to get there, so let's just keep going. And I wish I'd sort of turned left and gone off the road and gone and seen what was up that track.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like when I was crossing Myanmar, I had to organize a few weeks in advance. Same with the China crossing, I had to organize the guide in advance.
Yeah.
So I had this set dates to be at the border. So I was riding through Nepal, and there were some roads that I was trying to do. I knew 99% that I wasn't going to do it because the road, well, there was no road.
Yeah.
Well, it was Mustang Valley. Probably a lot of people know the road, which is just mud, the most slightly bad ever.
Yeah.
And I ended up falling off the bike even on a straight line, steady speed, maybe 5 miles per hour, not even going fast, but going straight, and ended up just falling off constantly. So I knew I think I only had like a week or so to get to the border with Myanmar at that point. So I knew I couldn't really afford losing 2 or 3 or 4 days or whatever on trying to get through this road. But if I had more time, I would just do it. Even if it took me 2 or 3 days, then that's fine. But there's just having this time limit. It's not ideal. You miss out on you end up missing out on the places that you could do otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I had sort of, well, I did kind of have. I had a deadline, a time deadline that I had to be home by, and it was a mate's wedding, so I knew I had to be back by that point. But I mean, it wouldn't have been. I'm sure he would have forgiven me if I hadn't made the wedding. But in my head, it was like, well, it all ties in. That's about a year and a half. I'll get home. I still, I've got a son. My son lives up in Glasgow, and my now wife, she was at home waiting, and it's like, I kind of have to get home, So I need to do the trip and then get home. But
that's kind of the reason. The reasons why I was planning to do my trip quite quickly in the first place was, I was in quite a long relationship, 5 years. First thing, I wasn't going to just leave, so I wasn't asking him for a permission, but I asked him if he will be, okay with me going for so long, say for a year, I say 10 months. And that's what I originally was thinking. So he was kind of fine. Well, he wasn't quite fine with that, but he was, he said that he would wait. And in the end, it ended before my trip even started. So when I was setting off, I no longer had this kind of time restriction. But when I spoke to my work before I left, and they gave me 10 months unpaid leave, sabbatical. Yeah. So that was my other reason for this time restriction, that I had to be back at work. But now, when I flew back, they took me back in. In the end, it took me 10 months, but just to get to Australia. I was still back at work in 10 months' time, but I'm only halfway through it. But they know that I'm leaving again, and they are okay with that. Yeah. But I told them that when I leave again, I'm not going to have a set end date. So I might come back in maybe a year's time again, might not. So I don't really want to have this time limits going forward.
Play it by ear, see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I come back in a year, that's fine. If they are looking for someone if they want me back in, then that's great. If not, I might want to stay in North America or somewhere maybe for a year or so to find a job somewhere else. Just see what happens.
Excellent. Oh, to be single, to be free like that, eh? Cool. Right, how about we head over and start working our way through the questions, shall we? Because I'm sure I've got loads of things that I'd like to chat to you about, but I'm sure lots of people out there have got the same questions that I've got, so we'll just run through questions and see where it goes. Lovely. Right. First off, folks, we'll head across to Patreon, to the clan, so that's patreon.com/TeapotOne. First question, Peter Hastelow. Oh, watch him. He's trouble, this one. Roxy, are you a better overlander than Bruce? Because you took a sports bike on the highest passes and still have a full head of hair. Cheers, Peter. Thank you.
Oh, that's a difficult question. I don't know. I guess one way to find out is maybe we should go for a ride together and see who's better.
Definitely. You'll win. I hate off-roading. Don't like it.
See, I quite like going off-road on a sports bike because it's not easy. It's challenging, but it's fun. You just take this bike. You know that this bike is not supposed to be there, and yet you are there. God, I probably don't have as much experience as you do, riding bikes. I don't know how long have you been riding for?
Probably about the same as you. I literally passed my test to do my trip. So I'd been...
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'd been riding a couple of years before I left. I passed my test 2008. So, yeah, I've been riding 4 years before I left. I've not been riding that long. Not been riding long at all.
Yeah.
Well, Pete's got another question here.
Okay.
I think. Oh yeah, Pete was at the Overland event with you. He says, Roxy, has Ben got over the night at Overlander yet?
I didn't realise it was the same Pete. What was the question, sorry?
He said, has Ben? I think he's meaning Ben King. Has Ben got over the night at Overlander yet? I take it was quite boozy, was it?
Yeah, we had quite a lot of doing. God, I will probably have to ask Ben that question.
He's coming on the podcast in a couple of weeks, actually. Yeah. He's
awesome.
been trying to get him on for ages, but with his work, he's just been having a nightmare.
Yeah, he must be hard to get hold of.
Yeah. He's coming on. Right, next question. David Hemmings. Roxy, well done for starting the trip. Are you nervous about any part of the upcoming trip once you get clearance to start again? And has COVID made you rethink any part of the trip? Well, we've kind of covered some of that.
Yeah, well, I was going to just jump to the second part of the question that I pretty much already covered. That the fact that I'm planning to slow right down going forward and take more time. About the nervous part, not really. I can't think of any situation that I will be nervous about. In the first place, when I was even starting my trip or during the first part of my trip, I guess it's about having this mental state that just whatever comes, you just deal with it as it comes. Things like some difficult border crossings, some accidents, breakdowns, things like that. You just deal with it when it comes. And don't think there is anything I'm really nervous about going forward. So just whatever happens.
When you first left, when you first set off back in July, were you nervous, like the morning or I think you left in the afternoon, didn't you? Is that right? You left?
It was quite late. It was almost in the evening.
Yeah, that's right.
I finished work, and I think it was a day or 2 days before that I finished work, and I knew I had this 10 months or whatever, which was a lot of time, so I didn't really have to rush. All my previous trips around Europe, they were all quite short, and I would always rush, just try to get to places quickly, and I would rush it because I didn't have much time. But this time I had a lot more time than I ever had before, so I didn't have to rush, and I didn't really know when I will set off. So in the morning I just started packing, and I thought that I had a lot of experience in packing already, since I already did several trips around Europe, so I kind of knew what to pack, but it was a bit different because this trip, I knew it was going to be a lot bigger, so I started thinking more about should I maybe pack this or that, and in the end I ended up packing a lot more than I did on my trips around Europe. But then I needed things that I didn't have to take with me before. So I ended up spending most of the day actually packing and running to the bank, post office to exchange some money and things like that. I ended up going to the post office to exchange the money, but they asked me for a driving license, which I left at home. So it was a lot of chaos that day. In the end, I ended up setting off. It was, I can't remember what time was it, 7 maybe in the evening, quite late at night. And I had 500 miles to ride from Glasgow to Dover, because that's the ferry that I always use, because I don't need to book it in advance. There's another ferry from Newcastle, which is much closer to Glasgow, but you need to book it in advance, and it's a lot more expensive, while the Dover ferry you can just turn up and go. And actually I did book my ferry ticket in the morning, because if you book it like a day or so in advance, then it's it's half the price usually. So I did book it in the morning. I think the ferry was going to be at 2 in the morning, 2 at night. I ended up having. I actually broke down on day one of my trip when I was on the way to the ferry.
On the way to the ferry.
Yeah, so firstly, the fact that I set off that late at night, and I checked the bike all over, and they went to my friends who's mechanic, and they checked the bike all over several times, and I thought that everything was fine, and then on the way to the ferry, I saw my headlight flashing, just dim bright, so I was on a motorway, and it was a dual carriageway, and I pulled over on some farm road, and I could smell something and took the seat off, and there was smoke coming from the battery, and then it was a fried rectifier. So obviously I missed my ferry, which is going to be at 2 in the morning, so I managed to... I was still lucky that I was in the UK, so I had my breakdown cover. So I found them, they came to pick me up, and by the time they turned up, it was like 4 in the morning. So I'm like, where do I go at 4 in the morning? There's no point going to a hotel if it's almost morning already. So where do I go? So I found some bike garage in Cambridge, and I told them to just take me there, and I waited outside for 4 hours till they opened. So I managed to get a new rectifier in the morning, and actually, I was doing some of my videos that day, and they said, right, lucky I'm still in the UK and not somewhere in the middle of Kazakhstan. And then a few weeks later, I was in the middle of Kazakhstan and the same thing happened. That was the day one of my trip.
So how are you now then with the mechanics of the bike? Are you quite handy with the tools, or do you just leave it to locals? I usually, when something happens, I try to fix it myself first. Before I set off on my trip, because of my previous bike was the same model of a Fireblade, I had quite a lot of experience. I was trying to do as much as I could myself, so that I could learn how to fix things, how to maintain a bike. Even if I didn't have to before the trip, I would just strip the bike down to the carbs, strip the carburetors, just so I knew how it all works, so that when I was in the middle of nowhere, so that I could check it myself. And it helped, because these things happened. I ended up crashing my bike or breaking down somewhere in the middle of nowhere where I couldn't really get any help, so it did get me out of nowhere several times. I probably I don't know everything. My knowledge only goes up to a certain point, but I know how to strip the bike all down in the middle of nowhere if I have to. I properly winged it, because I have no mechanical knowledge at all. I can just about tight a machine, and I just went. I thought, well, you just deal with it. You have any issues, you just deal with it as they come. And I just took it. I was very lucky that I didn't really have any mechanical issues apart from my subframe. That's about the only mechanical issue I had. Or when I flooded the engine doing a water crossing in Indonesia, I think it was. Yeah, Indonesia. Apart from that, I didn't have any issues with the bike. It was literally bulletproof. Yeah, very, very lucky. Yeah,
I can't really say that about my bike. When I see that rectifier, it was really annoying, because part of the reason why I chose this bike for this trip was that I had the same model of a Fireblade before, and I had no issues with it at all. The bike, when I bought my previous one in the first place, it was in a really bad state. I bought it for £900, and I was planning to keep it only for a couple of weeks, just to get used to the power, because it was my first. My previous bike before that was a 650, so it was a first bigger bike. So I just wanted to get used to the power and get rid of it in a couple of weeks. But so the bike was a write-off, category C and D, and in the end, I ended up putting 40,000 miles on this bike, and I kept it for 2 years. So in the end, I also brought it off myself. That was the third time write-offs. The bike, it was falling to pieces. All the balls screws were missing. The bike was held with cable ties, but the engine was still running sweet. So that's the main reason why I chose the same model of a bike for this trip.
Yeah.
And in my previous one, I didn't have a single rectifier issue during these 2 years, 40,000 miles, not a single rectifier
Did you not?
issue. But, yeah, so maybe I was just lucky with my previous one because I know this is a common problem with that model.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was unlucky with the one that I bought for my trip. So I think I must have went through like 5 rectifiers already.
Blimey.
And 2 stators also. So once I get back to Australia, I have some ideas that some people gave me. So I'm going to try and make it to try and make some things to this bike to try and stop it happening in the future.
Yeah.
Hopefully. But yeah, apart from that, like from the engine point of view, the engine is. I mean, I went through all this, places, Himalayas and northern Pakistan and all these roads that I was on, but the bike is still running fine. I burnt my clutch plates a few times, but that's, that could happen on any bike.
Mm-hmm.
So
was that just feathering the clutch going up over the bad ground?
Yeah, it's, I think the first time it happened, it was in the north of Pakistan, doing the Shimshal Valley Road, which is quite fun, I would say. It's all pretty much off-road.
Understatement of the year. Fun.
Yeah, you have a mountain to one side and a huge drop next to you, and it's 70 kilometers each way. And I had all sorts of issues that day. First, my battery died because of my rectifier issues. There was this knee-deep river crossing that we had to get across, so we decided to get the bike, push it through the river and try and jump start it on the other side. So some local boys staved up and they helped us to jump start it. And then in the end the road started getting so bad. At that point I didn't really have a lot of experience riding off-road yet. I was happy to go on gravel, kind of not too difficult off-road kind of thing, but I was really struggling on that road. And one of the local boys, they were on the 125s, and they were riding 2 up on one of them.
Yeah.
So one of them, he was a lot taller than me, and he looked like he knew what he was doing. He could handle this road much better than me. So he ended up riding my bike till the end of that road.
Did he?
Yeah, but then on the way back, because they were staying over there and we wanted to turn around, so I had to ride my bike myself on the way back. So on the way back, I still had this battery issues. We had to keep jump starting the bike like 20, 30 times maybe that day. And my clutch was on the way out because the terrain was so difficult, rocks, gravel, and knee-deep river crossings.
Yeah.
Because we were on the clutch a lot, it ended up burning the clutch plates. And the funny thing was, next day I was riding with Mark at that point. We met when crossing China, and then we decided to stick together for a while. So we were riding together, trying to get to the nearest town, which is about 100 kilometers away, because there is this app, iOverlander, and there was supposed to be a really good mechanic in Gilgit, which was 100 kilometers away. So I thought, maybe I can make it. I charged the battery overnight, so I had these rectifier issues, but I thought maybe on one charge I could make it to Gilgit. But 10 kilometers later, I could feel my clutch just wearing off completely. I had no drive. What we ended up doing, he ended up towing me. He never towed anyone before, and I was never towed. So he ended up towing me for 40 kilometers till the next village where we could get a truck.
Yeah.
Hang on, I kind of lost the track of what was I talking about?
Just the mechanics of the bike. It's just all an adventure, isn't it? These things happen. Bikes break down. It's all part and parcel of it.
Deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. You meet people along the way, don't you? Like locals, like as you said, locals help. People are I'm sure you found the same as I did, but 99.9% of the people out there are fantastic. They're really friendly, they'll help, they're great.
Yeah, most of the people, they just want to help you. Like, no matter where you are, like even that Shimshal Valley road, there were two of us, but even then we were struggling to get through this river, and then these local boys, they just helped us. And breakdowns or I got a huge amount of help when I was in Malaysia from the Honda dealer. I when I setting off on this trip, I got some small sponsorships for things like Chinese sprockets, some luggage, things like that, but not from actual Honda dealer, not with the bike. But when I was in Malaysia, they just helped me out with servicing the bike. Well, they actually reached out to me. They offered service for my bike, and I bet they probably expected like oil change or something, and then there was this huge list of things that I needed. So that's also when I need a new rectifier, new stator, and they sourced all this parts for me. Yeah. Also, my valves started losing compression, and they fixed that all for me. So I got amazing help when I was there. And just wherever you are, really, if something goes wrong, or even if nothing goes wrong, people just want to help you. Absolutely. Like offering a place to stay.
Yeah. Like people will just, if they can't do anything else than wash the bike, then I'll wash the bike for you. It's dirty. I'll wash it. And you're just like, it's great. Yeah, people just want to help. Right, we better crack on with some questions here because you've got a lot of questions. So,
sure.
Next one, Crazy Legs on a bike. What was your drive and inspiration for the trip? Was it planned or just off the cuff?
Well, so when I first started thinking about it, that was it was always in the back of my head somewhere. I was always thinking one day maybe I will do this around the world trip, but I never really thought about it seriously until I was on the way back from. I don't know if you're the same. If when you're on the way back from a trip and you're already thinking about the next one. So I'm always like that. So I was on the way back from one of my last trips around Europe, and I was thinking, so where do I go next? I only had a few countries left that I haven't been to in Europe. So where do I go next? And that's when I started thinking seriously about the on the world trip. And the like primary reason, the first reason why I started thinking about it was purely just geographical, because I was started running out of the countries to go in Europe. So it was there was not really any like motivation other than that. So now I think there are the reasons why I would, when I think more about it, I could probably, there are, I'm sure, how they word it, there are reasons that motivate me to continue going forward in not just geographical, like all these people that you meet on the road, people, all these experiences, not just the fact that I haven't been there yet, so I need to go there, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's there is a lot more to that now than before.
Were you part of the sort of overland scene before you went on your trip? Like, did you go along to the Horizons Unlimited meet, the hub meets, or any of the overland meets, or anything like that?
No, not at
just
all.
Went for it.
I haven't been to any of these events before. And I think I joined Horizons. There is this group on Facebook, and I joined it at some point. It was before my trip, but at that point I didn't even know about these meetings, and I never went to any. Actually, when I was setting off on my trip, I think it was a week or two into my trip when I was riding through Bulgaria, and I heard about this place, Moto Camp, which was one of the best places I stayed. The atmosphere was just amazing, and I just happened to get there a few days. I think I got there on Monday, and that weekend coming there was going to be a Horizons Unlimited meeting there, which I had no idea about, because if I knew, I would try and time it a bit different. I had to crack on because I only had 6 weeks to get to the border of China, so I couldn't really stay till the weekend. But I didn't even know about it. I did go to my first overland event. It was a few weeks ago.
Yep.
But before that, I haven't been to any events like that.
Yeah, that one you were at, the overland event, that's a really good one. That they do the summer one, sort of August into September, and then they started doing a winter warmer one now as well, which is I think February time. They're good. I prefer them to the Horizons Unlimited ones, to be honest. I don't know, just the overland one. It's just got a nicer feel about it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's good.
It's
very boozy.
It and, so I found out, and I'll be coming to the winter warmer too. So
awesome.
I'm looking forward to that.
I might see you coming? Yeah, hopefully. I should be at the winter warmer one. I was supposed to be at the summer one, but it's sort of, it was on, then it wasn't on, and then I had the option to go on a trip to Spain. So I thought, well, the overland event will probably be cancelled. I'll go to Spain, and then obviously Spain got locked down again. And, so it was just, I missed it. But I should be.
I'll probably see you at the winter warmer.
Yeah, I'll see you there for that one, definitely. Steve Meeson, question for Roxy. How did your parents take it when you said, I'm going around the world on a bike? And that's it. He basically just says it's good to see ladies in the biking sort of community doing these sort of things. So how did your folks take it when you said, I'm going to go off around the world?
So I live with my mom here. Mm-hmm. My dad is in Poland, so I don't really see him a lot. So my mom, when I was leaving, so she cried when I was leaving, and she cried when I flew back. So in the end, I don't know whether she wants me to be here or not. But she wasn't trying to stop me. She sort of got used to it in a way with my trips around Europe. But all my trips around Europe, they were only maybe a couple of weeks each. So obviously a year-long trip was going to be a bit different to 2 weeks around Europe. But on my first trip around Europe, she would try and call me every single day, and I would never answer my phone because I would either be on the bike or setting my tent up or whatever. And in the end, I would just talk to her once every few days. I went on a trip, so she kind of got used to that. But she still was a bit nervous, maybe when I was setting up on my around the world trip. But she wasn't trying to stop me. I think she's happy that I'm doing what I'm doing and seeing all these places and meeting all these people around the world. So she's okay with that.
Awesome.
My dad. I don't see him that often because he's in Poland, but I think he thinks that I'm a bit crazy. But he wasn't trying to stop me either. So they are kind of okay with that.
And your mum, is that right? You and your mum both did your bike test at the same time. Is that right?
Well, we did our CBTs together, and then we bought it was my 18th birthday, so she bought this CBR900RR and we were going to share it, like one day I would ride it, one day she would ride it, but in the end, I ended up riding it all the time, and she never really got a chance. And she got a little bit put off by the amount of maintenance that the bike required. She would always see me doing something around the bike in the garden, either fixing something or, just doing something around it all the time. And she got a bit put off by that, by the amount of maintenance it takes. And when she saw me crashing it all the time, then she kind of got put off a little by that. But that was 7 years ago, so I went for my full test and she never did. Her CBT expired, but now she's going to do this again.
Is she?
And she, so she doesn't want to tell me, but I know that she's going to do her CBT soon.
Awesome.
We went to see some bikes for her or two, so she's going to get into this.
Fantastic, brilliant, excellent. I mean, people need to realise when you said about the 125 and all the maintenance, I mean, you did some big mileage on that 125, didn't you? You pretty much just headed off and started doing trips straight away on the little 125s.
Yeah, I think I've done 18,000 miles on a 125 in 1 year.
Good effort.
I got it when I was 18, and then as soon as I was 19, that was a minimum age to go for a full test, well, a restricted test. So yeah, I was on a 125 for a year, and then as soon as I was 19, I think it was a day after my 19th birthday that I started my lessons for a full test.
Good on you. 18,000 miles in a year, and not only that, but on a 125. There's plenty of people out there on big bikes who don't do half that mileage in a year, so good on you. Cracking.
Yeah, I just wanted to go everywhere.
Yeah, definitely.
First, I would just get to college and back to work and back, and then actually, one of the reasons why I started riding bikes was because I was always out on a push bike, and I wanted to go farther in a shorter amount of time. So then I thought, right, I'll maybe get a bike with an engine, I can go to more places. And then I had a boyfriend who had a bike, and I would go out on the back of his bike every now and then, and I loved it. And then we broke up. It was only like the first relationship kind of thing. So then when we broke up, I really wanted to get my own bike. So that's, these two things. I just went for it.
And that was it. The rest is history.
Yeah.
Next question. Mark Walsh. Would you consider taking an electric motorcycle around the world?
I never thought about it.
Don't. It's my idea. It's my idea.
Yeah, so I think my worry will be if I end up in some really remote places, like, Himalayas, north of Pakistan, and just not being able to charge it.
Yeah.
I don't think I would for that reason. Maybe if I was to stick to civilization all the time, and I knew that I would be able to charge it, as often as I would have to, then maybe, but I don't think I would. At least not now. Maybe one day if we have electric bikes that can run for a long time on one charge, then maybe, but probably not at the moment.
It's my idea at the moment. It's something that's got me thinking. I started riding electric bikes a couple of years ago, and it's definitely started to fire again about going on a big trip, definitely. So we'll see.
So that's what you're actually thinking about.
Yeah, genuinely thinking about it at the moment. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to put in place, but I'm certainly considering it at the moment. We'll see. I just had. Sorry, go on.
So are you not worried about the charge not lasting, or would you?
No.
How would you deal with that?
Well, you get electric everywhere, don't you? So it'll just be a case of, I think with electric bikes, with electric vehicles, you have to change your mindset about how you're travelling. It's not petrol. It never will be. I don't think it ever will be, in my lifetime anyway, as convenient as petrol. I don't think you're ever going to be able to turn up at a charge station, instantly recharge the bike. It would be great if you could just take a battery, slot it in and put your old battery in a charger and off you go. That would be great, but I just don't see that happening, probably in the next 15, 20 years. It'd be great if it did, but I just think there's too many variables at the moment, really, and I think we just don't have the infrastructure yet. So for me, travelling by electric, you just have to accept that the quickest your bike's going to recharge is, at the moment, Energica's 20 minutes for a full charge, but then the range is only 50 to 70 miles for that bike. Or like the Livewire, you'll get 110 miles proper riding, but it's an hour to quickly recharge it, or 4 hours if you plug it into the mains. So you've got to accept that and adapt your travel to it. So, rather than on a petrol bike, you can do 1,500 miles in a day. If you just put your head down and keep going, in 24 hours you can cover 1,500 miles if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Well, with an electric bike, you're probably realistically in 24 hours probably only going to be able to cover 250, 300 miles, by the time you bring all your charges in. So I would just have to adapt. You'd have to adapt the route, and you'd have to be realistic with your timescales as well.
Yeah, I mean, see, I used to do these big distances when I was traveling around Europe. The fact also that I'm in Glasgow, further north, then usually I would do the first maybe 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 miles quickly, like in 24 hours, and at the start of my trip, just to get there, then ride around like Alps or whatever, and then do this another crazy mileage, like 1,500 miles in 24 hours on the way back. But when traveling around the world, I never actually did any kind of distances like that. Maybe with an exception of Kazakhstan, because you just get a desert and nothing in for hundreds of kilometers. So I would do some big mileage in there. But what I found that in most places I would only do 100, maybe 200 miles in a day. Because you just want to stop and see places rather than just spend all day riding and not seeing anything. So I can see. I mean, if that's the mileage that you can do in a day, 100, 200, 250 miles in a day on an electric bike, then maybe there is no need to actually do more than that.
There you go. Yeah, it's doable, isn't it? I mean, it is doable as long as you can find. You can always get electric, and I think the problem Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman have had doing the long way up. I haven't watched it yet, but from what I've heard, the problems they were having was when they would get to a little cafe somewhere or staying in a hotel or somebody's house, and they would plug the bikes somehow into the mains electric to try and charge them up. Well, the sort of mains electric in a lot of places isn't up to the sort of ampage that's needed to charge the bike, so they were blowing the circuits and the fuses everywhere. So that would definitely be an issue, but it's all part and parcel of the journey, isn't it? It's just
you might get some angry hotel owners for blowing their circuits, but
yeah, definitely, but I don't know, it's something that's sort of nibbling away at me at the moment, and I don't think my wife would be too happy about me buggering off for a year and a half, so I think time limits. I'm sort of thinking in my head, more of the first long way round route that they did, literally just straight across and round.
I don't actually know what route they did. I never watched it.
You've never watched it? No. Wow.
No.
They literally just like straight across, right across Europe, straight across Russia to they did Magadan in far eastern Russia, from there across to Alaska, and then down to New York and home. And I think for me, in my head, it's a similar sort of route, really, just to do it on electric and it's done then. I mean, somebody's probably going to do it now, but in my head, that's sort of what I'm thinking. About 3 months, something like that, 3 or 4 months. But
3 or 4 months?
We'll see. Yeah, see if we can do it.
Yeah, sounds interesting.
So watch this space. Matt Jordan, next one. Roxy, hopefully you'll manage to get back on your bike to pick up the adventure in the near future. When you do finally reach the end of the journey, what do you think will be your next challenge?
Next challenge? That's a question. I suppose it depends what route I'm actually going to do during the rest of this trip, because originally I was planning to ride from Europe, Asia, Australia, North and South America. But now the more I think about it, I'm actually thinking about doing Africa also. So I guess it depends whether if I include Africa also in this trip, then I would maybe do another on the world trip afterwards, or if I don't include Africa in this trip, then I would finish it with North and South America and then do Africa as a next sort of challenge, you could say. I also want to ride, because I didn't ride through Russia and to Mongolia on this trip, I want to ride there also. So I have all these ideas of all these places that I want to go and ride through afterwards. I don't know. I guess it depends what happens during this trip and what route I end up taking. But I'm sure it's not going to be an end, and I'm sure there will be more trips coming. Maybe another on the world trip. I'm sure this isn't going to be an end.
No, I'm sure it won't be.
There's going to be more.
Yeah, definitely. It was weird. Like I only I only ever had my trip in my head, and it was just like I literally finished the trip, and then it was like, well, I've done it now, so that's that. And everyone was saying to me, what's next, what's next, what's next? And I was just like, well,
Right.
just life. Got to get on with life. Like I've done the round the world trip, that's it. But certainly in the last year or two, you know, the old fires started coming back again, and I'm like, I didn't.
Yeah, it must be boring to just be back to a normal life after a trip like that.
Yeah, see, I really struggled. I really struggled when I finished my trip, just trying to fit back into normal life again, you know. And like you were saying, you don't think that you've changed, but I could see that I changed a lot as a person. And I went back into my old job in the police, surrounded by all my old friends doing the same thing, and it was just like I changed so much and nobody else had. You know, everyone else was just doing the same thing, moaning about the same thing, and I just felt sort of trapped, really. You know, I was so used to being on the road all the time, and then all of a sudden you're not. You're planted, and it just felt like I was chained, really. You know, and I really struggled being home for about the first year and a bit, I think. And then, now I'm fine. I think now I'm sort of living my dream now. You know, I'm doing all this full time. I get given bikes to take out and test and ride, and I get to go on trips, all as part of my job now. So, you know, I can't complain. I'm living the dream. So
Yeah, that sounds. Yeah, that
things have worked out for me at the moment. Yeah, we'll see. I mean. Financially, it probably wasn't the greatest move, but for me, it's, you know, I'm much happier doing what I do now. So
it's if you're doing what you're happy doing, then that's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can pay the mortgage, can pay the bills, so fine. Just
that's the main thing.
Exactly. Yeah, live your life. Right. What's the next one? Did we? Yeah, we did answer that. So you're thinking about places like Africa. Yeah, Africa's a special place.
Yeah, but then, like I said, it depends how I end up doing my trip going forward. Because if I end up like breaking it into smaller chunks, then it's still going to be a round the world trip, but not on one go as I originally was thinking about. But that way, I will be able to spend more time in places, like take 1 year for North America, maybe a year for South America. So then I'll also do maybe half a year or whatever for Africa. So it's going to be like a continuous journey, but there is always going to be something, I'm sure.
Or you could be like Sam Manicum, 8 years on the road, or Simon and Lisa. They're 15 years now, 16 years on the road. It's life for them. Yeah,
the thing is, I've not got that much savings, so I will need to go back to work every now and then. Like maybe spend a year on the road, then go back to work for a year. A year on the road, then back to work.
Can you work remotely? I don't know what you do for a living, but are you able to work remotely, or?
Well, probably I could. I do computer software development, so it's something I could probably do on the road. The thing is that I think I would find it quite difficult to work on the road, because I would need to have to set myself a certain number of days that I would have to make sure that I have good Wi-Fi connection, and have to carry a laptop with me, and it's quite difficult to do this job on a small screen on a laptop. It's better for me. It's easier to work if I have a second monitor at least.
Okay.
So it will be quite difficult to work on just like one small laptop. So I think it will work better for me if I just travel for a year, not having to worry about having to find a place with a good internet connection, so that I don't struggle to pronounce Wi-Fi again. It is something that it will be possible to do on the road. I think also the focus. I think I will struggle to focus on the job when traveling. If you end up in some amazing place with some nice beaches somewhere in the mountains with some amazing view, the last thing you want is to work. Yeah. So I don't think I could really do that.
That's fair enough. Yeah, breaking it down into, it used to be, didn't it? I mean, certainly when I was planning my trip, it used to be, it wasn't really a round the world trip unless you did it in one hit. But now there's so many people that just do it in chunks, and just you have to make it fit your lifestyle. So there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not trying to, prove anything to anyone. It's still going to be around the world journey. It might not be on one go, but I'm not doing it for anyone. I'm doing it for myself.
Nice.
So I'm just going to do, whatever suits me best.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Right, next question. Oh, Matt Jordan again. He's got, here's one for you, Bruce. If you had to choose between your mighty beard and your beloved GS, which would it be? Beard or the GS? Be the GS. Well, depends what you mean. Which one do I get rid of? Well, I'd get rid of the GS. This is staying. I'll keep this, definitely. If you've seen me without a beard, you'll understand why. So yeah, GS would go. Next question. Darren Cresswell. Loving the channel, Roxy. Awesome achievements and lots of love from Glasgow. So far, where has been the best place you've visited, and where are you looking forward to the most once you restart again?
Oh, that's a difficult question. Probably the most difficult question I ever get. The best place. There's so many places that I can't really pick a single one. What first maybe made the biggest impression on me was the Stan countries, the Pamir Highway.
Yeah.
These were the highest mountains I have done. At that point, when I got to the Stan countries, they were the highest mountains at that point, because, well, then I ended up in the north of Pakistan and the Himalayas in India, so then the mountains got even higher. But when I first got to do the Pamir Highway, there are some mountain passes 4,500 meters high.
Wow.
The Pamir Highway, people telling me you can't do this, it's impossible to do it on a Fireblade. And then it was the first time when I saw, when I proved to myself that I could actually do that. The people told me you can't do this, and then I realized I can actually do this. So it was kind of... it made me more confident in a way going forward, to just not care about what people say. The people who told me that I can't do this on a Fireblade, they were on the adventure bikes, and they say that they struggle, so there is no way I can do this. But I think it's about your mindset. I think I was quite determined to do the roads that people told me are impossible to do on a Fireblade, or places like in the Himalayas in India, like Kardungla Pass, the pass which used to be called the highest pass in the world. My bike really struggled because it's a carbureted bike and it struggles with oxygen. Yep. So I wasn't sure if I will be able to do that. And before I did this pass, I actually did the Changla Pass, the second highest, so-called second highest, because there are so many passes that are called second highest that you don't really know which one is actually the highest. But I ended up burning my clutch plates, so I had to get back down and then try again. Well, I didn't have to try again, but I was so determined to do this. But yeah, going back to the question, I can't pick a single place which would be the best. Himalayas were amazing, the highest mountains in the world, the views, I never saw the views, anything like that. North of Pakistan made a really amazing impression on me, the Karakoram mountains, the people. What I think, also Malaysia, the thing about Malaysia was that I didn't really know what to expect when I got there. I just saw it as a country on the map, and I didn't really know anything about this country. And when I got to Malaysia, the people were some of the friendliest people I ever met. I think I spent 3 weeks or maybe a month in Malaysia, and I only paid for accommodation like 3 nights.
Wow, did you?
Yeah, there was people just stopping. I was at the traffic lights, and there was some guy on a scooter next to me and just shouting, hey Roxy, where are you going? And just pointing me where's in the direction where's the quickest way to get to the airport and things like that. And people just inviting me to their homes, and the help that I got with maintaining my bike, and just the amount of people that I met there, and Malaysia really surprised me. I think it was because I didn't know what to expect when I first got there. The Pakistan. People told me before I got to Pakistan. People told me that I'm not going to walk out alive from Pakistan. That if I go there, I'll get killed or something like that. But yeah, it was nothing like that. In fact, it was one of the friendliest countries that I went to. The same with India. So yeah, I really can't pick a single place.
It's funny you say that, because I have friends who are from, and their families are from northern Pakistan, and they've said to me, they were like, it's a good job you didn't go there because you would get killed, and I'm like,
really?
Seriously, don't be daft.
No.
And they were like, oh no, Westerners, you would struggle there. And I'm like, nah, I don't think so. But it's funny, everywhere you go, I found in Russia, it's like everyone is scared of their neighbour. Like in Moscow, when they heard I was riding east across Russia, they were just like, 80 miles east, you will die. People, you'll get killed. But 80 miles east, the people were even more friendly, and they were warning me about the people further east than them. And it's just the same till you get to the other end, and it's just like Vladivostok is the friendliest place I've ever been to. It's like a proper party town. It's great fun. Yeah, everyone's always scared of the neighbour, eh?
Yeah, that's it. But they don't realize that. I suppose maybe it's different when you're a tourist, and they are welcoming to tourists, but maybe it would be different if you were actually living there.
Yeah, true.
So maybe they are warning us against, maybe they're warning us from like their perspective, but when you're there as a tourist, maybe it's different. I don't know, but yeah, if anything, I just met the friendliest people over there.
Good. There's another part of Darren's question there. Where are you looking forward to most? Like in your head, where that you've not been, where are you looking forward to most?
Yeah, actually, I think that it will be South America, Argentina, Chile. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to pretty much everything. I'm looking forward to finishing Australia. I'm looking forward to riding to Alaska, through US, Mexico. But I think South America, I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this really is going to be the best part of my second part of my trip. I'm not sure what's actually going to be the best part. But this is, I think, something I'm looking forward to the most.
So in South America, what's your do you have a predicted route that you would like to take? Are you doing I just did the Pan American. I just hit the Pan American and headed north.
Yeah, so when I was first thinking about this trip, when I was thinking about doing it in 1 year, my kind of what I was thinking was to fly to maybe Santiago and then ride south to Ushuaia and then just north.
That was my
probably
plan.
Take Route 40. A lot of people are telling me to not do Route 40 on a Fireblade, but that's making me want to do it even more. So I want to do that, but now that I'm actually wanting to slow right down, I'm thinking about just going everywhere in South America. Brazil and all around,
awesome.
And in the middle and everywhere. So yeah, originally I was thinking to just ride from Ushuaia to Alaska or Alaska down to Ushuaia. Not the quickest route, but sort of kind of straight line. But now I just want to go everywhere.
Yeah.
So probably I'll still go to Ushuaia and then or maybe I can fly to Brazil instead and maybe start from there and then go to Ushuaia and then up through the west coast. I don't really know. I think I'll be thinking about it once I get back to Australia and I'll be finishing Australia. Then I will start thinking more about the actual route. But I do want to do as much as I possibly can in South America, which will be Brazil also, all the east, all the smaller countries on the east, on the Ushuaia, and then up through Argentina, Chile,
cool.
Bolivia, Peru.
Yeah. You never know. The Darien Gap might be open by the time you might be able to take the Fireblade through the Darien Gap. You never know.
I think somebody who was it? Somebody was thinking about doing it
Spencer.
shortly before.
Spencer
That was
Conway and
him.
Kathy.
Yeah, but I don't think they ever did it because of the pandemic.
Yeah, they're stuck in, I think it's Mexico at the moment. So they're basically waiting out the pandemic in, I think in Mexico. So yeah, as soon as the whole COVID thing has done whatever it's going to do, and hopefully life returns to some sort of normality, that's their plan, is to try and ride through the Darien Gap. So
it will be interesting to see if they manage to do that. I'm sure they will. It will be interesting to see.
Definitely. If anyone can or will do it, it's those two. Sorry. If anyone out there can or will do it, it's those two. Kathy and Spencer. Yeah, they're just an amazing couple. Great fun. They're often at the overland events, and it's a very social evening when they get involved. It's a lot of fun.
I've never had a chance to meet them yet, but hopefully one day.
You will now. Now you're sort of in the scene, you'll meet them. Don't worry, they're great people. Right, Stephen Bowman. I've a lot of admiration for anyone riding around the world solo. Yes, you too, Bruce. I follow Itchy Boots on a regular basis and admire her achievements as a solo rider. What are the differences, if any, being a solo female rider versus a male rider when interacting with the people you meet? I mean, it's kind of hard, isn't it, for us to say, because I've never been a solo female rider and you've never been a solo male rider.
It will be difficult to tell, but I noticed a huge difference, but not between a solo female and solo man traveling, but what actually I really noticed when I was riding to Pakistan, I wasn't alone. Pretty much the whole time when I was in Pakistan, I was traveling with Mark. So we were together, and every time we stopped, people would approach us and they would talk to us. Who are we? Where are we from? What are we doing? Just talk to us. But they would never talk to me. They would always talk to him. And I found this really frustrating when traveling with other people. So that was the main reason why I then wanted to continue on my own. Yeah. Because I felt like I was missing out on this interaction with people. But that's, it's not exactly the same as the question, because it's more like traveling with someone versus traveling solo. Yeah. But when I was solo, then people would approach me, no problem. They would just come to me and talk to me happily. But I think it's the culture thing, like in Pakistan, when me as a female, when I'm with a man, they always talk to men and not directly to me. It would almost be as if I wasn't there at all. They would sometimes not even say a word to me. It wasn't always the case, but more often than not. The difference between actually being a solo female versus a solo man, that's difficult to...
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine the questions I always get asked are, were you not frightened? Were you never scared? I mean, is that something that plays on? Is it something you think about when you're traveling? Do you ever worry about your personal safety?
No, the thing is, there was not a single time during my trip that I would actually be scared or worried about anything. There was a situation, I think it only ever happened once, when I was in northern, I don't know, where was it? I think it was northern India. And I stopped at some guest house, and they were making dinner, and everybody will sit at one big table and have dinner together. And they had quite a lot to drink, and there was like one group, they were bikers also, and there was another group of bikers, maybe like 2 or 3 of them. And one group, they would have quite a lot to drink, and they wanted to talk to me and take some selfies. And when taking selfies, they tried to get almost too close to me, uncomfortably close. So then that other group of bikers, they were more friendly in more like appropriate way. So they kind of tried to take me away from them. It's. I didn't have any. I wasn't scared at that point. More just I'm just going to leave it there and I'm going to talk to them instead. But I never had any situation like that. Anyone trying to get too close to me or anything safety wise happened to me. I was never really scared or worried. I think it's again, it's the mental state, just dealing with it as it happens, and I just never had anything like that happen.
Yeah.
Has anything like that ever happened to you? Were you ever worried about your safety?
The only real time was in Mauritania. That was about the only. Yeah. That was about the only real time, and to be honest, that was probably my first proper experience of being outside of sort of the Western world. It's like everywhere you went, everyone's got AK-47s or guns on them, and they just point a gun at you. It's just what they do. It's just, they're not going to shoot you. They just point a gun at you because they've got a gun. And but then once you start getting robbed, and then I had a bad experience at a border. I got taken at a border by a gang and held for a while. That wasn't good. I didn't enjoy that, to be perfectly honest. So I was genuinely thinking at one point, it's either me or you at this point. And just literally at the point where I was thinking I'm going to have to do something, the whole situation changed, and it was all friendly again. So it was just like, okay, right, we'll get out of here. And after that part, when I ended up back in London and then got the opportunity to go again, my whole mentality had changed, and I was just like, I'm doing it. Nothing is stopping me. I either finish the trip or I come back in a box. It's one or the other. I'm doing it. So from then on, nothing really bothered me after that. It's just, you just deal with it, don't you? It's just the trip.
Yeah, but do you think if you were a female, would that went differently? Would that go differently? The situation.
I don't know. At the moment, in my head, I would be thinking there's definite personal safety risks. I think if you're a female in certain situations, definitely. If you can't handle yourself, then of course you're at I would say a greater risk of certain things happen to you than a guy would be, although it could happen to a guy for sure. But that shouldn't stop women wanting to go on on an adventure trip, because the chances are that'll never happen. It could happen walking down the street in Glasgow. You know what I mean? It could happen, couldn't it? So I think you just have to rely on your own sort of senses. If you're thinking to yourself, I'm not happy with that situation, so I'm not going to put myself into that situation, then that's all you can do, isn't it? You've got to. You're going on an adventure trip. You've got to expect to be out of your comfort zone, and there is an element of risk. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people ask me if am I not scared as a solo female. Am I not scared? Am I, but I've not had anything like that happen to me. So maybe I was just lucky. But again, you do hear about things like that happening in the news every now and then. But then it's like one in a million. Exactly. It doesn't happen very often. So because of one example in the news, in the media, you can't really be put off doing what you want to do. So I'm still convinced that I'm more likely to get shot on a street in Glasgow than in somewhere like in Asia or traveling.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. You're far more likely to come to harm here than you are abroad. It's on my trip. I've had more. Well, I certainly had a lot of guns pulled on me in Africa, but they weren't going to shoot me. They weren't going to shoot me. Whereas in London, I've definitely had people pulling guns on me who are going to shoot me. So it does happen. But you're right. Just you go for the trip, don't you? You enjoy it. You do it.
Yeah, just like you said, just use your common sense when you feel that the situation isn't. You should maybe not put yourself in this situation and just move on and go somewhere else. Just use common sense and just try to get the feel of the situation and it's just common sense really.
That's the way to go. Next one, Brian McManus. A question for you both. On your world trips, where and how long into the trip was it that the realisation of what you were doing hit you? And can you explain your emotions at that point? Now, do you get that? Like, for me, I didn't really feel like I was on a big trip until about 6 to 8 weeks into the trip. You know, it was just like it was just like another road trip.
Yeah, see, I was exactly the same at first. When I was setting off, I was actually thinking, well, it feels just like any other trip that I previously did around Europe, because I was heading down to Dover exactly the same way as I usually did. So I did that route a lot of times already, and going through Europe, again, it didn't really feel like anything big. I knew that I had a lot more time. I knew it was going to be bigger, but it didn't feel like it. I think the first time when I actually started feeling that it's bigger than what I have done before was when I got to Turkey, and maybe after Turkey, once I got to Asia and I knew I wasn't going to in Europe anymore, things started changing. Like there were like a lot of mosques and people's appearance started changing. So then you realize you're no longer in Europe. Things are a bit different now. So that's when I think I realized it's actually going to be bigger than anything I've done before. But this wasn't until a good few weeks into the trip.
And how did that change your sort of mentality to the trip after that point? You know, like
not at all.
No, like for me, all of a sudden,
not really.
I just sort of realised all of a sudden, I'm not turning around and going home. I'm going east. You know, I'm literally going east till I get home again. And it's just, then it was like, right, let's have it. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, like at first I didn't really know what to think. Like when I was setting off, I didn't know how. I found myself thinking more about, right, so how am I supposed to feel now? Like almost overthinking it. What am I supposed to feel? And I didn't really feel anything. Then when I got across to Asia, and that's when I realized it's actually going to be bigger than my previous trips. I think I just accepted it in a way. I don't really overthink things. I just do. I'm on a trip and that's what I'm doing, and I don't really think much about it.
You're a very chilled out person, aren't you? Nothing. I get the impression nothing really flusters you.
Yeah, I just try to not overthink things, and just if something goes wrong, just deal with it. Whatever happens. Just I'm trying to not worry about things and just
awesome. That's the way to be. Definitely, it's the way to be. Oh, next one, Pete English. I don't know if you've watched any or listened to any of these podcasts, but Pete English is a regular, and his questions are always fairly oh god, what's the burst? They make you think, his questions. They're not your normal type of question. So, Pete English. Evening, Bruce and Roxy. Hope you're both well. What do you miss most about being a child? There you go.
I don't know. I still feel like a child, so I don't really feel like I'm missing much. God. I think the fact that I no longer get summer holidays, as a child you would get 2 or 2.5 months of school in the summer and a few weeks in the winter. But now, when I'm at work, I still need to work. I can't really.
But you've just taken a year off to travel halfway across the world.
I know. But it doesn't happen. Every summer.
Yeah, I get you.
I don't know. That's probably the only thing I can think of.
That's all you miss is the school holidays.
Yeah, because on the school holidays you would go, I would go because I was living in Poland there, and so I would always go to the other side of Poland to visit my family and travel. So I will do that every summer, but then I suppose when I take holidays of work, I still go and travel.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's a difficult question. How do you miss the
Perpetual
most?
child. I think I just miss. I miss the innocence of it. I miss the not having to worry about bills, not having to worry about grown up life. You've got mortgage to pay, you've got bills to pay, you've got to do this, you have to do that. Whereas a kid, you just want to go out and play, don't you? It's just free.
Well, see,
freedom.
that's the thing. I don't have a mortgage. I don't have any commitments. So I still feel like a child really, because I still live with my mom. I don't have my own house. So I'm living with my mom. I do give her some money every month to help her out, but I don't have a mortgage, so it's not a commitment in a way. I can go and live in my tent if I really have to. I think the fact that I don't really have any serious commitments at this point, I still feel a little like a child. So maybe that's why I can't really think about anything.
Fair one.
That I would miss the most.
Enjoy that for as long as you possibly can.
Yeah, that's what I'm planning to
do. Right, next one. Chris Murphy. Evening, both of you. I hope all is well. Question for Roxy. Where does your love of bikes and biking travels stem from? Well, we kind of covered that, didn't we? You've always ridden them.
Yeah, so when I was, I think, 17, I had a boyfriend it only lasted a couple of weeks, and he had a bike, and I would go on the back of his bike. Then we broke up, and I wanted to get my own bike because I fell in love in bikes by that point, and the fact that I was always on a push bike and trying to go farther and farther, and I realized a motorbike would get me farther in a shorter time. I wanted to go and see places, and that's kind of where it started.
So this sort of yearn to travel that you've got, do you think that is that drive you've got to go and see new things on a bike, is that so that you're on a bike and you're riding, or is the riding a means to go and travel?
I think it's I do. It's about getting to places on the bike. I love riding bikes. And since I started riding bikes, I would always go out whenever I could in the evenings and the weekends, whenever the weather would be nice. So even if I have been to a certain place hundreds of times, but say I love this road on the bike, some nice twisty corners, I will still go on the same road because I like the road, because I enjoy riding it on the bike. So it's not always about the place that I'm getting to. Sometimes it's just for fun. I did some track days too, so that's obviously I don't go to do a track day to see the scenery. So it's a bit of both, and seeing new places. Now, see, when I got back to Scotland when the pandemic started, actually it was a bit weird for me. While previously I would always go to the same places, same roads that I enjoyed, now I didn't really want to go to the places that I have been to so many times before. And I found myself, the first couple months, I just sat in a house and I didn't go out anywhere. I didn't feel like I didn't want to go out. I kind of, the way I was thinking, I already been everywhere. So what's the point? In a trip, you always go to a new place every day. While when you're home, you've already been everywhere. So what did I do? And I just sat in a house and I didn't want to go out anywhere. But then what I started doing, whenever I went out on the bike after that, I started picking some small single track roads that I haven't been to before, and just trying to go to new places whenever I get a chance. So it's changed me kind of that way, in a sense. It's a combination of both. I really enjoy riding bikes. I never really traveled to a lot of places before that, by the plane. I never went on any holiday by plane. As a kid, I would go to visit my family in the other side of Poland by train, but that it wasn't really to see places. It was to visit the family. But I never really did any traveling to your normal tourist destinations by plane or this kind of holidays. As soon as I started riding bikes, all my holidays from work, they were biking holidays. I would take my bike and go to places around Europe or wherever. So yeah, it's a bit of both. It's the riding bikes which I enjoy and seeing new places. It's both.
Have you heard of Kalimoto? It's an app, a sat-nav app for your phone.
I heard about it. I never actually tried it myself, but I heard about it.
I'm going to give them a shout out. They are one of my sponsors, but I was using it before they came on board as a sponsor. It's awesome for doing exactly what you just said, like finding new places to explore all round about you, because you can put it on these different settings, anywhere from motorway to mega twisty route, and you can do random routes. So you can pick the thing up, you open up the app on your phone, and you can say, right, I want to go on a trip today, and I want to do 100 miles, or I want to do 150 miles, and if you're in Glasgow, then you can go, right, I want to head north, or like northwest, northeast, something like that, or east. And you can tell it, I want to do a mega twisty route, or I want to do a fast straight route, and it automatically will plot you a route based on the best biking roads that it can find based on its algorithm. And that's what I've been doing. So all I do now is I just use Kalimoto, and when I'm test riding a bike, I just put it on the random route, and off you go. And even around where I live, that I've been riding for like 10 years, I'm finding new places all the time through this little app. It's great fun. I'll send you the link for it if you want, and try it out. You get like a month free. I'll send you that.
Okay.
It's well worth trying.
I need to try that out.
A lot of fun. A lot of people up in Scotland have messaged me and said, I've tried it and it's great. I've found loads of new places that I never used to ride to. So, be worth trying.
Yeah, because my first thought was, like I said, I've already been everywhere, but actually there are so many places that I haven't been to.
Yeah.
I just don't know about them.
Yeah.
So it might be interesting.
Especially if you don't mind going down those little tracks, then which there's loads in Scotland. So you'll have some fun on this.
I don't mind at all. Now this is kind of the kind of roads that I find myself taking the most. I don't really want to stick to the main roads. I want to get off the main roads as much as possible. So I need to try that out.
Well, you'll love that app then. I'll message you the details for it. It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
Right, Chris Murphy. Evening both. I hope all is well. Oh no, we've already done. That's the one we just did. Next one, Goose. Hi Roxy. Now that you're home for a while, what is the one thing you forgot the first time and you will definitely bring with you once you can go back to the trip? That's a good question.
What have I forgot?
Yeah. Is there anything, when you've been away on your trip, is there anything you've thought, shit, I wish I had that. I wish I'd brought that.
There were a few things that I forgot, but they were not really big things. I forgot the things that I realized shortly after I set off. I forgot my swimming suits. I just when I went swimming, I just used I was swimming in my underwear. I forgot the ground shit for my tent, which isn't really important. I'm trying to think. There were things that I wished I packed instead or didn't take with me. There were quite a lot of things that I ended up sending back home or just throwing away or giving out to people. But
like what sort of things? What sort of things would you not take now?
One thing that I took, which I really liked, was the pillow. It was maybe this size. I'm not sure if you can see on the camera, but it was quite big. And you would fold it, and when you unfold it, then it was almost full-size pillow, and it was so comfy. But then I I realized it's actually taking up quite a lot of space, and I don't really need it because when I was in Nepal or in India, yeah, it was in India. I bought a fleece. I had some hoodie with me and some thermals, but when I was in India, I bought a nice fleece, and I ended up using this fleece as a pillow. So I didn't. Well, I realized that I can use this fleece as a pillow, and I didn't need that pillow that I had with me. So I really like that pillow, but I didn't really need it, so I ended up throwing it away. Also, when I set off on my trip, I took a big 10-liter fuel can with me. It was kind of flat, so I put it across my rear seat under my tail bag. But it was still really big, and it made attaching my tail bag quite awkward.
Right.
And it just wasn't sitting solid. It took a lot of straps to try and make it sit solid. And in the end, I wasn't really using it. I wasn't using it, and I had it with me, but when I was riding through Europe, I always kept it empty, because in Europe I didn't really need it. So I thought, what's the point carrying 10 liters fuel with me when I don't have to? And so then I got across the Caspian Sea to Kazakhstan, and I didn't fill up before the crossing. So I got off the ferry, and there was a small town where I was going to fill up. So I stopped at the petrol station, and they had no petrol. Oh. So instead of there was probably another petrol station somewhere in the town, but I didn't bother going to look for it, and I just kept going, thinking I just fill up in the next town. But what I didn't realize was that it's Kazakhstan, so the distances between the towns are huge. So I ran out of petrol, and obviously my fuel can was empty because I didn't bother filling it up yet. And luckily there were other bikers that got off the ferry with me, and they caught up with me shortly after, so I wasn't stuck there for long. And then obviously I started filling this fuel can up, but then I got to Pakistan a few weeks later, and I realized I wasn't actually using it. There was only one time when I had to use this fuel can when crossing China, but for the number of times that I actually need to use it, which was only once, I didn't really need it, so I just left it behind in Pakistan. And then there was a time later on when I was in India when I had to take extra fuel with me, so I just used some plastic bottles or some containers, whatever I could find. Yeah. I mean, for the other situation, I just try to make sure that there is going to be a petrol station, and if there isn't going to be, then just take extra fuel with me.
It's weird, isn't it?
Bottles.
It's like once you get outside of Europe, literally, people just use like an orange juice bottle or Coke bottle and just put petrol in it, and like the mopeds have it just strapped onto a moped, and no one bothers, do they? It's there. Have it, take it, use it.
Yeah, that's it. But going back to the question, the thing that I wished I took with me, I think the fact that I have done several trips around Europe before this trip, I knew what things I should pack with me, so I packed all the essentials. But one thing that people, I think, overthink when packing for a trip is that what if I forget something? Well, all you really need with you is some money, passport, some documents, I guess, and then the rest you can just buy on the way. Exactly. There are definitely things I bought along the way, but it was usually to replace the things that I had with me. Like the camera, I set off with some mirrorless camera, and then I ended up part exchanging it when I was in Pakistan for DSLR, and a tent. I set off with a different tent. Now I got a different one. So it's more just to replace the things that I already had. But I didn't really buy anything new.
I was the same as you. I left the first time, but I left with a ridiculous amount of kit. I literally tried to cater for every weather condition and every situation, and it was just ridiculous. I had way too much kit. So then I think I was about halfway. By the time I got sort of halfway across Russia, and I'd snapped my subframe 3 times, I think, by then, or 2 or 3 times by that point. I just thought, this is ridiculous, and I ditched a full massive toolkit that I'd never even used. I ditched so much kit in the middle of Russia, and then the rest of the stuff, I did the trip with, I think, 3 pairs of pants, 3 t-shirts, a pair of campy trousers and a fleece, and that was it. That was my clothing. And then I had a little bag of sockets just in case, and the rest was like camera kit, laptop, hard drives, GoPros, all that sort of stuff. And that was it. Tent, sleeping bag, job done.
Yeah, I think the tools, like some people pack full set of sockets, and that's the thing, that your tools are probably the heaviest thing that you carry. So that's one thing when I'm packing on my trip. I tried to make sure that I only pack the tools that I know how to use, that I'm going to use, and just try to not pack too many tools. The clothing, I might be a woman, but I only packed a few t-shirts. I think I didn't actually pack any t-shirts, and I packed some tank tops, and then when I got to Pakistan, that's when I realized, hang on, I've got a problem. No, it's because of the culture. You're not supposed to have your shoulders open.
Yeah,
so
right
I had to go and buy some t-shirts, but in Pakistan, all the shops for women are, they're, what's the word for their clothing? I can't remember the word, but you couldn't really get female fit t-shirts, so I just went to some shop for men and had to buy some t-shirts, which I don't care, but I did get some weird looks, like, what am I doing in this shop? So I did get a couple of t-shirts, and I think 1 pair of trousers that you convert into shorts, and one pair of shorts, and one hoodie, and then I think I bought some jeans somewhere along the way for going out to nicer places. It's not that I never really do that. I always try to go to places as cheap as possible, but there was like 1 or 2 times that I wanted to go to a nicer place, and you want to
make an effort, don't you?
Nice, that's sense. I ended up buying a couple of things along the way, but not a lot.
And that's right. You've alluded to it there. If you find that you don't have something, or you need something that you don't have, there's shops. Believe it or not, there are shops around the world. So you can just, like, the locals will probably need what you need. So just go where they go to get it, and you'll find it. It's there.
Yeah, there is no point overthinking what to pack. I know a lot of people do that when thinking about doing a big trip. Like, what do I pack? Just don't overthink it.
Absolutely. Right, last one of the Patreon questions. Stuart Bailey. Hi Roxy, if motor vehicles, cars and bikes had not been invented, what do you think you would be doing instead? Oh, good question.
I have no idea. I would be walking around the world. I think I still want to travel. I like. I know I said I never really done any traveling without the bike, but I think I would still want to travel without the. I would get a horse. I know what I would do. I'll travel around the world on a horse.
Just from town to town.
I think that's what I would do.
Nice, like it. You're saying about walking around the world. I don't suppose, did you meet the old guy on your travels who's walking around the world, walking for peace? Did you meet him?
No, I haven't. I heard about people doing it, but I haven't.
I bumped into him in, I think it was somewhere like Romania or something. He's an older chap wearing like a white linen gown, and he's pulling a trolley behind him that's got a big placard, a big board in it, and it's a map of the world with his sort of route that he's covered. So he's been everywhere. He'd already been everywhere when I saw him. I think he'd been on the road for like 10, 15 years. And he's walking, he's just a really eccentric guy. He's walking for peace. That's just his thing. And he's just walking. Has nothing with him. He just survives off of food that people give him. And, if no one gives him any food, he doesn't eat. And he just keeps going till someone gives him some food. You're like, wow.
Yeah,
what an existence.
Amazing. I have met a lot of cyclists riding, maybe not necessarily around the world, but long distances through Asia, Yeah, I don't think I met anyone riding all the way around the world, but yeah, people doing long distances. And that's when actually I realized a lot of people say, oh, it's amazing what I'm doing on a motorbike. But actually, when I look at people who do it on a bicycle or even, like you say, walk around the world, that's amazing because you need to, walk or ride your push bike, and you have you can't take as much gear as you do on a motorbike. You need to pack even lighter, and then you need to actually like pedal to put an effort to get to places. And then you get places like Kazakhstan where distances can be huge between villages or even petrol stations or shops where you can get water. So imagine doing it in like 40 degrees heat and with no shops for hundreds of kilometers. You need to make sure that you have enough water with you, and you can get to the next shop or place where you can get water. So people say it's amazing what we do on a motorbike, but then people who do it on a push bike, that's something else.
Absolutely, yeah. And as you said, there's so many people doing these amazing trips. When it's almost like Russia, for example, if you take the road, the tarmac stretch east to west across Russia, it's literally a conveyor belt of motorbikes, of overland travellers, everyone, there's so many. But you see cyclists, you see I wouldn't be surprised if you come across someone unicycling across Russia. It's like it's the route you do if you're crossing Russia. There's so many people doing trips. Mental. Yeah,
I haven't been to Russia yet. That's definitely on my list.
Honest, what a place!
But
so friendly.
Yeah, I met a lot of people in Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan. Not so many in Kazakhstan. I met one guy from US, and he bought. That was actually quite funny because I stopped. It was somewhere in the middle of Kazakhstan, and I haven't seen an overlanders for a while at that point. And I was in the middle of Kazakhstan, stopped at the petrol station to get some break and just to cool down inside the shop because it was so hot. And then I see a bike pulling beside mine, and I kind of look over at him, and I'm kind of thinking to myself, he looks like a local. The bike looks really old, and he had some bags thrown on the bike, but he looked like a local. And then he walks into the shop and takes his helmet off, and he definitely looked like a Westerner. So then we started talking, and then turns out that he was from US, and he bought his 4 years old Honda CX500 in Scotland, and he rode over to Kazakhstan, and he's planning to get to Japan once it's over. The pandemic, his trip was also paused, but it was in the middle of Kazakhstan, and this 40 years old Honda CX500.
Wow, brilliant.
It was the most random, probably thing, person or bike I met on my trip. But I did see a lot of overlanders in Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, in Europe, but after Kyrgyzstan, once I got over in China, I haven't seen anyone, but then
Did you not?
China. No, because I had to. Maybe it will be different in the main sort of part of China, but because it was this Xinjiang region in the west part of China, it's really controlled, and I had to have a guide. The guide, which costs like $1,000, and we had to be in a group, and we couldn't really go anywhere on my own. Had to be with the guide most of the time.
Yeah. I think it's the same all across Russia. If you're doing it overland, it's the same conditions, I think.
Is it? But in Russia, you don't need a guide in Russia.
No, not in Russia.
You can travel on your own.
Just
China. In China. Yeah. So that's why I didn't see anyone really in China. Well, there was a hotel because we had hotels booked by the guide.
Yeah.
So in some of the hotels there were other groups, but of travelers, but they were also with their guide. And then I got over to Pakistan, and I haven't really seen a lot of overlanders in Pakistan. I did, because of the China crossing, we managed to put a big group together. There were 13 of us, so we all crossed into Pakistan, and then everyone went in their own way, but we are still kind of in the same area, so we ended up bumping into each other sometimes. But apart from them, I think I only met one couple. They were overlanding on a bike, and apart from that, I haven't really seen anyone. In India, I bumped into one guy that I crossed China with, but apart from him, I haven't met a lot of overlanders from then on.
Should stay in more hostels. You'll meet a lot of overlanders in hostels, definitely.
Yeah, see, but the thing is, I usually try to get away from people when I'm traveling. That's why I don't really like staying in hotels a lot. Sometimes I do, but when this is the cheapest option, then I do. But usually I just try to get away from people. I don't mind locals because locals, that's the kind of people I want to talk to. Because meeting local people is, for me, it's one of the biggest parts of traveling. Meeting local people, see how they live, and it's completely different. Sometimes when I'm on my own for a long time, I don't mind. I like to meet people who other overlanders, but it depends how long I'm on my own for.
Yeah, I totally get you. Yeah, I'm the same. I like having my own space, which riding a bike gives you. And then I like meeting local people and finding out about new cultures and how people live and all this sort of stuff. But then I do like that little sort of connection with back home you get when you book into a hostel and you meet other people who are travelling from, generally from other Western countries. So there's that little connection to back home there, and I quite like the mix.
Yeah. I mean, I do enjoy that every now and then, but I wouldn't do that every night no. Very often. But sometimes, like when I'm on my own for a long time, or when I at the times when I haven't met other overlanders for a long time, then sure. But I wouldn't do that too often.
Yeah, good on you. Right, we have finished the Patreon questions, but there's still a load of Instagram and Facebook. How are you for time? Because we've been going for about an hour and 50 minutes.
I'm good.
Are you all right?
Maybe like I don't have any. Yeah, I don't have anything on tonight, so cool. I've got all the time in the world.
We'll maybe look at maybe another 20 minutes if we just do the Instagram questions, and then that'll be us. How's that?
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Awesome. Right then, okay, across to Instagram, which is at TeapotOne Insta. Carnow Davy, Roxy, how bored are you of Bruce talking about his trip? Thanks very much. Cheers, Davy. I get a lot of grief about this.
Well, actually, I think it was me talking most of the time now. So
good. It's what it's all about. It's all about you. Yeah,
So let's turn this question around. How bored are you of me talking about my trip?
Not bored in the slightest. I think what you're doing is awesome. I really do. I mean, for me, it was following people like Jacques Lucassen and Nick Sanders, who had sort of blazed the way before me on the R1, and Nick Sanders has done it on Fireblades and Triumphs, and they'd done it. And it was like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. But I look at you now, and because you did the stands, I didn't do the stands, and
you should do it.
Well, I would love to. I definitely would love to at some point. But it's awesome just to sit and watch your vids and see where you're putting that bike, and it brings back a lot of memories for me for the stretches that I did when they were off road. And I can watch what you're doing, and it's like, God, I remember how hard that is, and the sense of achievement you get for, when you get through some of those really shitty, horrible tracks and surfaces that you go through, and you get through it and you think, I've done that. I did that. It's brilliant.
It's funny that you say that about Nick Sanders and Jacques Lucassen, and it's funny because I was actually watching your videos before my trip, and see like a year or two ago when I was watching your videos, I never thought I would be sitting here with you, chatting to you, whatever it is. When I first got this idea, doing it on a world trip on a Fireblade, I was thinking, like, is it even possible to do it on a Fireblade? So then, I heard about like Nick Sanders, yourself, Shaq Lucassen, and like if they can do that, surely I can do that. I mean, obviously the fact that they did it, you did it,
it's possible, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
it's all there.
You know, I'm a lot smaller than you are, and so the fact that you did it doesn't necessarily mean that I can do this. But the fact that other people have done that before me, showed that it's not something. I wouldn't be the first one doing it. So, it's like I say, it's all in your head. Like I think I was really determined, even like when and my bike ended up breaking down and burnt my clutch plates. I still, if I didn't do one road, which I really wanted to do, I will still attempt it again after fixing my bike, just to make sure I do it. Yeah. So it's all about what's in your head, determination.
Absolutely. I've always said any bike will go anywhere, but not every rider can. Do you know what I mean? It's like a bike is just it's just an engine and a couple of wheels, so it will go anywhere. It might not go as easily as other bikes, it might not be as comfortable to ride over certain terrain as other bikes, but it will do it. But not every biker has got it there to take that bike wherever it needs to go. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a mindset. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Right, next one. Andy RJ5. To both of you, you're heading out for a wee ride on your bike. What's the first item or accessory you pick up, and where do you go? Ooh.
Where do I go? I think, I did mention that previously, before I started my trip, I would always go to the same places, the roads that I enjoy the most. But now that my trip is paused and I found myself back home, I do try to go to new places every time when I go out. Like from now on, I just I try to every time go to new places. About the accessory parts, I hardly ever take any accessories with me. Sometimes it depends where I go. If I go to the places that if it's just some cafe or to meet people, then I don't take anything. But if it's somewhere new, if I'm going to try some new roads, I usually take some camera with me or just a GoPro. I love taking pictures. I would always take either just a GoPro or a DSLR with me.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I don't really take any accessories with me if we are talking about short rides.
Yeah. Mine's my phone. Literally, I just take my phone. I can pay for fuel on my phone. You've got your camera, you've got the video on your phone. You can use it as a sat nav. Yeah, that's all I need. Take the phone. Job done.
Yeah.
Right, nice question. Next one, Hodmeister09. A two-part question. How do you choose your bikes you have used, and money no object, what would you choose to ride? So what made you pick up the Fireblades that you've got? And if you had unlimited budget, what would you go for?
Okay, so what made me pick the Fireblades? So I had 3 Fireblades, and the first one that I picked, because my current Fireblade, that kind of follows on from my previous one, so I started with the first one. When I had my restricted license when I was 19, 20, 21, I was on a 650, GSX 650F, and then when I passed my full test, unrestricted, when I was 21, I wanted to get a bigger bike, and I didn't really know what bike to go for. I wanted something bigger. I wanted to try a liter bike, but I wasn't sure if I would be able to handle a liter bike. So I thought maybe I would go for something in between. I was thinking about Gixxer 750 or something in between 600 to 1,000. And then I got a link, one of my mates sent me a link to an advert of this cheap Fireblade up for sale. It was 20 years old. Well, it was 1998 900cc Fireblade, which was going for... It was up for £900. And it was in a really bad state. It was a write-off, category C and D. But I thought it would be ideal just to get used to the power, and I think I said before, to get rid of it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And so I bought it, and then I ended up keeping it for 2 years, and I did some European trips on it, and I put some 40,000 miles on this bike. And because the bike was already in a bad state when I bought it, and I managed to do another 40,000 miles on it, and the engine was still running fine, that's the reason why I decided to buy another one for the trip that I'm doing. I also had a 1000cc Fireblade in between, which was really just for quick weekend rides and for track days. So, but that was a newer model. It was 2008. Well, not necessarily new, but not a 20 years old one. But yeah, that one was a bit different because that was a liter bike, and I wouldn't really do any traveling on that one. It wasn't as comfy as the old ones. See, like newer Fireblades, they're not really comfy. They're nice to ride. I really enjoyed it on the track days or evening weekend rides, but I wouldn't really do. Saying that, now I've got an idea in my head.
There you go.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be that comfy for a long distance trip. While older Fireblades, the seat is quite wide and comfy, and the sitting position is not upright. I'm still kind of leaning forward, but it's comfier than newer ones. And the reason why I picked my third Fireblade for my world trip was because I had so little issues with my previous one. Well, I didn't have any, and because it's comfy for a sports bike, because it's an older model, it's almost like a sports tourer comparing to modern sports bikes. And the fact that it's so simple, I can strap it all down on the side of the road. Even comparing this 20 years old Fireblade, comparing it with 2008 model, which I had, 2008 model, it was probably the most awkward bike ever to take the fairings off. I think it took me because I wanted to make a makeover on this bike. I bought a new set of fairings, and just to change the fairings, it took me forever. The fairings were the most awkward ever to take off and install on this bike. While on a 20 years old model, I can do that in 5 minutes. Take all fairings off on the side of the road. And the annoying thing about that model was because it's a carbureted, so it struggles at high altitude. But it's just so easy to work on. I had this crash in India in the middle of Himalayas, and the bike was running really bad because the carbs were flooded with petrol. And then the next morning I just strapped it all down and put it back together, and it's running fine. So because it's so simple, so easy to work on, I think it's easier for me to fix it by myself, or at least diagnose the issue on my own.
So money no object. What would you go for?
That's a difficult question. I never really think about it. I know a lot of people have their dream bikes that maybe you would like to buy if you had all the money in the world, but I never really think about it. That's a difficult question for me. I would probably have several bikes.
Same.
I would have a bike. I would definitely have a sports bike. I would probably go for something like a CRF 250 as something that's actually suitable for actual off-road, not a Fireblade. I would definitely have a sports bike. I would have some off-road kind of bike, like a 250. I was always a sports bike person. That's part of the reason why I started my trip on a sports bike, because I was always more into the sports bikes. I was never into cruisers, Harleys, that kind of bikes. So I don't think. Maybe when I get old.
I was going to say, give it time. I was exactly like you. Sports bikes were it. I could never see by the sports bikes because they did everything. So why do you need any other type of bike? But the older I get, I definitely, even Harleys, started testing Harleys, and I get it.
I saw your videos.
I understand where the appeal comes from now, definitely. The GS, never thought I'd ride a GS, but I've owned 3 now, so...
it just shows you never know.
It's age.
I don't actually have any dream bike. I like the bikes to be like practical. Like one of the main reasons why I started with the Fireblades, at least when I decided to go for a 1000cc Fireblade, my second one, I at this point I kind of had a choice. Obviously, do I go for a Fireblade or R1 or a Gixxer 1000 or BMW S1000RR? So, but I decided to go with a Fireblade because everyone I spoke to, everybody say that Fireblades are just the easiest to handle, as opposed to a lot of people say about R1s that they are not as easy to handle around the corners. But while Fireblades just go where you want to go in a way, and I always found them quite easy and really nice to ride. I never actually tried, so I don't really have anything to compare to. So maybe I don't actually have an opinion to compare with other bikes.
You need to get on some demos. Take some demos out and see. Get along to some dealerships.
Yeah, but I just always really enjoyed the Fireblades. I like the bikes to be practical, but then no matter what bike I have, even Fireblade, no matter if it was snow, rain, or what type of weather, I would still use it. So, I don't have a dream bike.
I'm same as you. I think if money was no object, I would have quite a stable of different bikes. I'd have the sports bike, S1000RR, definitely. I'd still have a GS. I would have the new KTM Super Duke R. That's phenomenal. God, there's loads. There's so many good bikes. There's not a bad bike out there anymore. There's definitely no lemons out there now. New ones.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. But as far as one bike that does everything, well, everyone knows what I'll say. GS just does everything. I hate to say it, but it does everything. Right.
Or a Fireblade.
Or Fireblade, yeah. But then,
I suppose it's down to the rider. The Fireblade isn't supposed to get to all these places, so you can do everything on any bike you want.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Then, on some bikes it's easier than the others. So obviously on a GS it will be much easier to get to the top of Himalayas, or than it is on a Fireblade. So it's so.
That's the thing.
The
that's the thing I like about the big modern sort of adventure bikes is that they do the off-road thing if you want to do the off-road thing, but conversely you can take them onto the track and they will give sports bikes a run for their money through the corners. If you go to a nice little tight twisty track, the big adventure bikes can hold their own in the corners, definitely. In the straights you get peed all over, but in the corners you can have a whale of a time on them. So they just do it, and they're comfortable. They just do everything. So. Right, next one. Uncle Bob's Biker Life. Question: if you created your own brand like TeapotOne, Honor Bike, Itchy Boots, etc., what would your logo be, and what would be the slogan?
Hey, is my logo not good enough?
Yeah, well, speak to him. Uncle Bob's Biker's Life. I do go by RTW Roxy at the moment. RTW, maybe I don't quite deserve the RTW yet, since I haven't actually, I didn't go around the world yet, but I will eventually. So, the logo, I do have a logo of kind of a cartoon version of me on the bike, and the globe in the background. It's a good logo.
I was actually going to redesign it now that I'm home and change it a little. But I don't know. I think for now, I will just. I don't have any ideas. RTW Roxy on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. So I will probably keep it as that, unless somebody can give me some better ideas.
You're going to get inundated now. There'll be people sending you logos.
For the logo, I might, over the next few months, I might redesign it a little, but I'm not sure. It just depends how bored I am, I suppose.
Do you like have merchandise and all that sort of stuff? Stickers?
No, I don't. No. I do have stickers, but the stickers that, you usually put on the signs that some people love it, some people hate it. Yeah. So I do have some stickers. I don't have any t-shirts. But yeah, if I'm going to get on the t-shirts, then I think I would need to redesign my logo a little because I don't think it will be great for the t-shirts. But yeah, maybe if I have enough time, if I'm like at the moment I'm quite busy with work, I'm just trying to catch up on my videos and stuff like that. But if I end up bored over the next few months before I get back to my trip, then yeah, I might redesign my logo and maybe get some t-shirts or some new stickers. Yeah, I will see.
Awesome. Watch this space, people. Watch this space.
Yeah.
And the website's roundtheworldroxy.com, isn't it? That's right. .com.
Yeah, but I haven't actually updated it in a long time. I did have some blogs from my previous trips, and I think one or two from the start of my around the world trip, but it's far behind. But maybe eventually I will get around to updating it.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, at the moment I'm trying to focus more on my videos because they take up so much space on my hard drive. So I'm trying to get through videos first, and then I would like to get around to updating my blog at some point because it's a nice memory. Even some people like reading them, but even just for myself, I don't keep any diaries because on the trip I always by the time you stop I'm too tired and the last thing I want to is to write a diary. Some people enjoy doing this, and I know a lot of people do, but it's just I did start doing it at the start of my trip, but I think it ended on day 2 or 3. So then I decided to just take videos instead because it's much faster and easier to just take a video and just talk about what happened each day. But having a blog, I don't talk about everything in the videos because it would just take too long. So it will be good if I can find the time to finally update my blog and write in more detail about what was happening.
It's well worth doing. I mean, I was sort of lucky in a sense. I wrote for Fast Bikes magazine while I was away, so my hand was sort of forced every month to write, to write something. So I would write that. I'd book myself into a hostel for like 3 or 4 days, and I'd write the article for Fast Bikes. I'd write my little blog post for the website, and then I would make sure I sat and I got an episode together for the YouTube channel. So, and I'm so glad I did because I've got, I've got this sort of sequence of events now, and a record for me, a nice little memory of the trip now. It's all there. So it's well worth doing.
That's good that you did it. Like I said, I only did it through the videos, but the videos are not necessarily as detailed as I would want them to be. So maybe one day I will get around to that. And also, you did write the book, didn't you?
I did, yeah. And again, it was handy having written the blog posts and the magazine articles. I kind of combined all that together, and then I'd finished the trip by then. I'd been home for about a year, so I could sort of sit and retrospectively give a little bit of input on what I'd said beforehand. So it's a combination of as it was happening, but also looking back and. That's how I did the book.
I need to get my hand on a copy and read it eventually.
Well, it's sold out everywhere, but I think I might have a copy somewhere here. I think I self-published, so I just got a quantity printed, and once they were done, they were done. So I think I've still got 1 or 2 here. I think so. I'll send you a copy if you want one.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it isn't your last one, I'm sure.
No problems.
I'm sure you want a copy for yourself.
I'm just having a quick look here, and there's a lot of repeat questions, stuff we've already talking about. Adventure Visor, why the Fireblade? What's the most important thing you had with you other than cash? Paul 0807. Again, did Bruce tell you he rode around the world? Cheers, Paul. What's been your most memorable experience? Again, we covered that, didn't we, before? RB at Nerve, there we go. This question goes for both of you. Any plans to come to South America, crossing the Darien Gap or going to the Great Roads of Bolivia, Peru and Brazil? That could be a contact for you when you get to South America.
Yeah, that would be great.
It's at RB at Nerve, that's the name. Yeah, I would drop them a line, because that could be a nice little contact for you when you get to South America. It sounds like they're out there.
Okay, yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, like I said, I'm planning to go to South America, and I'm really looking forward to that. I have no idea when I'm going to be there, but definitely that's one of the places I'm looking forward to the most. So yeah.
Cool. They've actually left quite a few questions. I think they've put about 3 here. There's one that could be useful for people. What was the mechanical skill that you learned or perfected during the trip that was the most useful, and every rider should be able to do it?
It depends on the bike. Now, because my bike is carbureted, being able to get to the carbs, it's quite useful, as I found out. But I learned it before the trip. Even I didn't have any issues with the bike before the trip, but still I just in the evening they took the tank off, took the airbox off, got to the carbs just to see how it all sits together, just so that I know how to get to it when I actually have to in the trip. So my I think last video that I just published, that's when on my YouTube, that's when I crashed my bike when I was in the middle of Himalayas, and the bike wasn't running well. So what I did, I just stripped it down to the carbs, and the carbs were flooded with petrol. So it's handy to be able to diagnose the issues and do these things. But then at the same time, I had another accident at the end of the crossing of Myanmar, shortly before the border with Thailand. It was 10 kilometers to the border, and I ended up in the back of a truck. And the first thing that I remember was waking up in the back of ambulance, crossing the border into Thailand, because they took me to the hospital in Myanmar, and they didn't really have anything there. They couldn't do any x-rays. So they decided to put me in an ambulance and take me across the border to Thailand.
Wow.
Because they were able to do x-rays over there. So, the first thing that I remember is waking up in the ambulance, crossing the border, because they couldn't find my passport. So, I mean, it wasn't quite funny at the time, but it was interesting.
Wow, so you were properly knocked out.
I hit my head really hard because I was in a group, and there were, I think, 6 bikes, and I was quite fast. So me and I was with Mark Steele. He was on a Tenere, and he was quite fast also. So we overtook the rest of the group. We were the last to set off that morning. Everybody was gone from the hotel, and we set off last, and then we just ended up overtaking everyone on the way. And then we stopped at the petrol station to fill up. It was the last petrol station before the border, and petrol was cheaper in Myanmar than in Thailand, so we thought we'll fill up before the border. So we stopped, we filled up, and everyone else was still far behind. And we set off, and it happened about a kilometer later. I have no idea what happened, but he was behind me, and I hit this truck, and I ended up doing acrobatics in the air. And he was so focused on me doing this acrobatics in the air that he crashed into this truck also. But luckily he was better than me. Then the rest of the group got to us, and I don't know what happened, but my helmet, I had to buy a new helmet. It was apparently I hit my head quite hard. The bike, we got across the border to Thailand and into Laos. Because the Thailand, it was really annoying with that border at that time, because Thailand only just started requiring you to pay $400 for some stupid permit, but you didn't need that permit if you entered from another border.
Right.
That was the only border that they required you to have this permit. So what we did, instead of paying $400 for the permit, we organized a truck for 6 bikes, all of us who were crossing Myanmar together. We loaded the bikes on the truck at the border and went to the border with Laos, and then most of them, they crossed straight back into Thailand because that other border didn't require you to have this permit. So we still had to pay for the truck, but it was much cheaper than $400 for the permit.
Yeah.
And because I couldn't really ride, and my bike wasn't running well, and I ended up staying in Laos for a while. But the bike wasn't running well, going to the question about the mechanics. And I was really scratching my head what was going on. It sounded like there was some weird noise coming from the engine. And I had some small fracture in my hip and needed some stitches. And
small fracture in your hip.
I couldn't really ride and was in a lot of pain. So then I got a message from someone in Thailand. They said that they were coming to the border with a pickup truck, and if I want to come into Thailand. So I thought, well, Thailand might be a better place to get my bike fixed. And also it was around the New Year's time at Christmas. So I thought, I'd go to Thailand. So I went to Thailand, and it was a couple of days before the New Year's Eve. So I think it was actually a New Year's Eve and the day before that I spent stripping my bike down, and I would do my usual strip the carbs down and spend 2 days trying to figure out what's going on with my bike. Eventually, the bike was still running bad, and I had no idea what was going on. So I decided to take my bike to the mechanic, thinking that maybe he'll be able to tell what's the problem much faster than me. And all he did was that. What happened was a loose sparkle cap. So
that was
I spent that was it. And I spent 2 days scratching my head what's going on. And I could have just done that straight away when I was even still in Laos. And then there would be no need going all the way to Thailand and then back to Laos, because I also wanted to ride through Laos. So next time the first thing that I'm gonna check will be the
spark plugs.
So that's one thing that I learned along the way about the mechanics. And for me, with a Fireblade, which has this common issue of rectifier. Frying, I think it will be handy for me to be able to tell that the rectifier is on its way out early in advance. So I'm actually going to fit some voltage indicator, something so that I can tell straight away if something is not right. So I'm going to do that when I get back to Australia. What will be handy for me also to learn to change the clutch place myself, which I think isn't necessarily difficult. I think all I would have to do is to lean the bike to the side, and then I think I will need to have some spare gaskets with me though, or be able to make them. So I'm not sure if this is something I would do myself. It's easier for sure in the garage, and in countries like in Asia, usually it's much cheaper for the hassle that it would cost me if I was to do it on my own versus how much it actually costs in the garage. It's just much more convenient to just go to the garage and let them do that. But it might be handy to be able to change the clutch plates myself, as long as I have spare ones with me. Obviously, it wouldn't be much use if I didn't have spare ones with me. And usually I don't carry spare clutch plates with me. So, change the rectifier, I can do that myself. Change the stator. I think it's quite unlikely for it to happen in the middle of nowhere, but then I did have to replace it twice. What I'm going to do, just try to prevent it happening as much as I can in the future, instead of having to change it that often. The most important mechanical skill, I think, is just to learn the most common things. It can be bike specific, like the common issue in my bike might be the rectifier, but it might be something different in
another bike.
In another bike, so just being able to diagnose the issues of the fix most common things if you can.
Yeah, and you said it earlier as well. It's like, you obviously do a lot of you do a lot of miles on a bike even before you started the world trip, and I think that's important to know your bike, to know how it rides when it's 100%, and also how it rides when it's not 100%. And different issues affect the bike differently, don't they? So you can, like, you start knowing when the bearings are on the way out, when the chain, like simple things, when the chain's too slack, when the chain needs lubing, all this sort of stuff. Spending time on the bike, you start picking that up. So that's probably
it's good to know these things in advance before you do a big trip. But then some people don't know anything about the bikes, and they still do big trips. But then it's handy to know these things. But then if something does go wrong and you're in the middle of nowhere, you're not going to be stuck. There will still be people, and you can still get a truck or get someone to tow you out to the nearest town and then just get someone to fix it. So some people would maybe get put off from doing a big trip because they don't know anything about mechanics, but that's not the case. You might need to pay a bit more for for a truck or for someone to pick you up and someone to fix it, but it's going to probably be more expensive, but you're not going to die in the middle of nowhere when
there's always people. There's always people, and people will always help. And I'm case in point, got no mechanical knowledge whatsoever. I was very fortunate that nothing horrendous happened mechanically with the bike, but if I ever had any issues, then you just figure it out. If you've got to, you push the bike till you get to the next little village or town, and especially when you're out in the middle of nowhere, these little towns will always have a mechanic. They'll always have someone that knows engines, and an engine's an engine at the end of the day. They'll get it running.
Yeah, that's fine, especially in the poorer countries, or I found it in Asia, in countries like Pakistan and India, they know how to fix things.
So resourceful.
For example, like I had a broken mirror. I lost the glass. I still had the mirror, but not the glass. And I went to the shop, and they just took some. It was a furniture shop, and they put a glass in the furniture shop in my mirror, and they had a mirror. But in the Western countries, it would never happen.
No.
Imagine me going to
buy a whole
furniture
new
shop
mirror,
here
wouldn't
in
they?
the UK.
Who knew wing mirror?
Yeah, they would never do that. But in this kind of countries, they know how to fix things instead of buying new. They fix it.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot to learn from some of these places, because they just they make do, don't they? And they keep things going rather than just wasting it and get a new one.
That's it.
Right, Roxy, that is nearly 2.5 hours. Believe it or not.
Oh dear.
No, that's about what these ones normally go for, but they fly by. We've pretty much done the Instagram questions. There's still Facebook ones and things like that, but I think that will do us for just now. It's 2.5 hours of your Saturday evening gone. Is there anything you want to mention? Any shout outs you want to give? Do you have any sponsors or people you want to chat about?
There's not really. I mean, I do have sponsors from RK for the chains and sprockets, and now I managed to get I'm going to partner up with Moto Gusto. Oh, by the way, John from Moto Gusto says hello to you.
Oh, awesome.
So I'm partnering up with them just now for they're sorting me out with a new bike, because when I flew back to Scotland, since I left my Fireblade in Australia, I didn't have a bike to ride in Scotland.
So you
and
got
I was
a
going
Moto
to buy a
Gusto.
bike. I had a guy who I haven't met before. He messaged me on Facebook that he stays 10 minutes from my house, and he said that he has a CB1300 sitting not used, and if I want to use it,
Brilliant.
then I'm like, yeah, sure. So I was using his bike for the last few months, but I didn't really want to use it over the winter, and at first I told him it would only be probably until October, and it went back to him. So now, when I met up with the guys from Moto Gusto, they managed to sort me out with a new bike, which I'm going to get probably next weekend. I haven't told anyone what bike is going to be yet, so
okay, no problem.
I'm going to reveal that in probably in a week or so, and also testing some gear for them too.
Awesome.
So,
that's exciting. Nice one on Moto Gusto for partnering up with you. That's a great call. Nice.
Yeah, so big thanks to them for keeping me on the road and keeping me happy.
Brilliant.
Sponsors. I was sponsored by Lomo when I first started my trip for the luggage.
The luggage,
Yeah, but going forward, I'm actually going to go with Oxford luggage. To be honest, Lomo luggage did really well, and it's more to the fact of what kind of roads I was doing and the accidents that I had, and eventually I had to replace my gear. And going forward, I'll be sponsored by Oxford with the luggage. I was sponsored by local club Hillbillies MCC that I'm part of. Also thanks to them.
Cool.
I did get a sponsorship with Rocky Creek for pump, compressor for the bike, electrical bits and pieces. Yeah, I think that's. Oh, hang on! I don't want to miss anyone. Also, when I was in the when I was in the middle of the trip, I was lucky to get a sponsorship with RI for the helmet.
Oh yeah.
When I was in when I got help from Honda dealer, they one of the guys there approached me about the RI trying out the RI helmets, so I got a sponsorship from them. So yeah, I was really lucky with that.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, folks, if you want to find out more about where Roxy's been and what she's done, then probably YouTube's the best one to go to, isn't it? Your YouTube channel.
Yeah, YouTube for the videos, I'm a bit behind, almost a year behind on it. But
you posted one today, didn't you? I watched the one today with the carburetor and the petrol coming out.
Yeah, now that I'm back home, I'm trying to catch up on that. So usually I try to upload a new video every weekend. So yeah, probably YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. When I'm in the trip, when I'm during the trip, then I post every day or two on my Facebook and Instagram for regular updates. But YouTube, that's usually when I'm back home.
Awesome.
During the trip, I haven't uploaded on it, but now I'm trying to catch up on that.
Well, check out all those links, folks. They'll be down in the video description or in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast. All the social links, website, everything like that, it'll all be down there. Roxy, it's been awesome chatting with you. It really has. I could sit and chat with you for hours, so we'll save that. Hopefully we'll meet each other at the winter warmer and we can have a beer and have a chat there.
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me here. Like I said, before my trip, I was watching your videos and I had no idea at the time that in a year or two time I'll be here chatting to you about the trip. So yeah, thank you so much for having me here.
My pleasure. And, thank you for taking the time to come and have a chat and keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome to see. Loving it. Loving following the trip.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I can't wait to meet you at the winter warmer.
Brilliant. Right, we'll have a beer. Okay, folks, hope you've enjoyed this one. What can we say? It's still a mad old world out there, isn't it? But take something from it. Believe you me, we see it, don't we? Everywhere you go, people are nice. People are cracking on. People are good. Don't let the media beat you down and make you think any different. So look after those that you love. Get on out there. Live your lives. Do your thing. But most importantly, well, I've just said it. Live your life. Woo-ha! Oh, I mucked up the end there a wee bit, didn't I?